Alrighty, got egg on. Taking a look at some financial info. What is superannuation? It has to do with something along those lines from down under in Australia. Something a little different, and I believe something I've really never touched on at all. So this should be pretty interesting. It's been suggested over probably the last couple of years, and I'm finally getting to this. I'm curious to see how this compares to some retirement type plans here in the U.S., government-backed Social Security, maybe 401ks and IRAs. This is stuff we have. I would like to see how this differs, and maybe it's even better. Who knows? This is from 11-Minute Class Money. So it'll be linked in the description down below. Make sure to check them out and check out their channel. Alrighty, let's get to it.
What is superannuation? Superannuation, according to the Australian Taxation Office, the ATO, is money put aside by your employer over the course of your working life that you live on once you retire. Superannuation is extremely important as you need a good amount of money to live off when you're no longer working. As long as you continue to work and make regular payments to your super, your investment will grow until the day you retire or until you reach a certain age. Why was super introduced? Did you know that up until the mid-1980s, less than 40% of the working population had superannuation?
Wow.
That figure was even less for blue-collar workers and women, only around 25% in fact.
Well, that's pretty rough way back when, right? So this came around, what, in the 80s or 90s maybe? Kind of level the playing field, make sure everyone's got a plan, right? Very smart.
By 1992,
Very needed.
Compulsory super, the superannuation guarantee, was introduced.
All right, so superannuation and me share the same birth year. Very nice.
Requiring all employers to make mandatory contributions for their employees. This new scheme allowed millions of working Australians to now enjoy superannuation benefits of their own. And this helped relieve the growing burden on the taxpayer-funded government pension scheme. How does superannuation work in Australia? Superannuation is paid by your employer into a super account of your choosing. Your employer is required to pay a minimum of 9.5% of your ordinary time earnings into the super fund on top of your yearly base salary.
Wow. Okay, so this is paid, government mandated, paid by your employer no matter what? Like no matter what, and no matter what, where you work? Why was that so hard for me to say? No matter what company you work for, what job you do, blue collar, white collar, young, old, doesn't matter. 9.5% of your ordinary time earnings minimum on top of your salary into your super. And he said your super account of your choosing. So hopefully we'll learn more about that. That's pretty cool. Damn. That's like guaranteed then. Okay.
Example given. If your
already sounded a little bit more solid than your choices here.
Annual base salary is $100,000. You will get $9,500 in your super.
Wow.
Once this money is placed into your super fund, it is then invested by your superannuation company. Sample investment breakdown.
Oh, shit. I didn't.
Sample investment breakdown.
Oh, okay. I see. Cool.
Do you need to have a super fund? If you're an employee in Australia and you meet the minimum requirements, then you are required to be paid super by law. You must be paid super, regardless of whether you are working as casually, part-time, full-time, as a contractor, and even if you are a temporary resident in Australia.
What
is the super as a contractor, and even if you are a temporary
okay, so I would totally understand full-time, like, yeah, that better be happening. But even as contractors, but here's a big one, part-time and casually? I don't even know what they would mean by casually. Anything not full-time would, I feel like, be part-time, but maybe you can expand upon that. But even just part-time, that's freaking awesome that you're guaranteed this in various situations, even temporary residents. Holy crap, dude.
Resident in Australia.
That's awesome.
What is the superannuation rate guarantee, or SG? The superannuation guarantee, SG, is the compulsory 9.5% superannuation contribution that employers must pay into their employees' super funds.
Wow.
Here's a table showing how SG has changed over the years.
Okay, so it goes up pretty often. This is showing 9.5%. This was in 2020, it looks like. We're in June. Oh, look. We're in June, at least when I'm filming this. This is late June of 2025. And literally in less than a week, July 1st, 2025, it goes up to 12%. Holy crap. I'm already thinking 9.5% is impressive that that's guaranteed for everybody. But that's in just the time that this video is teaching in a few years, it's already up to 11.5%, literally in less than a week, about to be 12. That's freaking awesome. Wow. Granted, cost of living has gone up. I imagine, I think we've seen through various medias in Australia, definitely here in the US, worldwide. But regardless, thank God this has gone up. So that's awesome, right? Like, that is good that it goes up at a pretty good rate. It's not like it waits every 10 years to go up 0.5% or something, right? This goes up pretty often.
What types of super funds are there? What's the difference? Within that tax structure, there are various types of superannuation funds, including retail super funds, industry super funds, corporate or public sector funds, self-managed super funds, SMSFs. Retail funds, typically run by banks or investment companies. Anyone is usually able to join. Offers the widest range of investment options, excluding self-managed super funds. Offers various insurance products through the fund. May offer access to financial advice. May offer the ability to view your super alongside other savings accounts. Have employer-sponsored divisions within the fund. Large organizations such as banks and insurance companies tend to run retail super funds, open to anyone, while others are limited to employees in specific industries. Different funds available to reflect different industries. Amount of investment options available is usually smaller than with retail funds. Corporate funds. Set up by an employer for its employees. Membership is usually restricted to current and former employees.
This would probably be by big corporations, right?
May run as an industry fund or a retail fund.
Okay.
Group insurance is often negotiated by employer with the trustee on behalf of its employees. Self-managed super funds. A private super fund that you manage yourself.
So that's good too, right? That you have some freedom to kind of handle this yourself if you would like to, right? So here in the US, I feel like, and we'll talk more about this later on and try and compare a little bit, but here in the US, like a lot of things, you can do really well here, especially when we're even just talking about kind of retirement, IRA type stuff. But it's all kind of up to you, right? So if you know what you're doing, you play your cards right, you make some good, investments, you maybe make a couple risky investments that pay off, you can end up doing really well. The key word is you kind of have to do that yourself, right? It's really all up to you. And so that's, good. It's also kind of bad if you're not into it, you make a couple mistakes. Maybe you just want this handled by someone else, right? It takes away a little bit of your potential. So what's good is you kind of seem to have a good base guarantee and a great safety net in Australia. And if you want to have a private super fund as well, take some chances and, you be the big brains behind the project, you take the time and energy to do that, you have that option too. So that's good.
Can have up
right?
to 4 members who are also trustees and responsible for decisions and complying with laws. No membership fees, but costs include the cost of administration, investing, accounting, and auditing. More control of investment choice. Generally only cost-effective for people with certain amounts of superannuation assets. The table in the figure shows an overview of superfund accounts and assets by fund type.
Total assets billion. Look at the total. Almost 3,000 billion, which would be what, like 3 trillion? Is that right? 30 trillion? Something like that. Growth in assets. Wow. Pretty cool.
Cost of the administration and operation of your fund. Investment fees. Cover the management and investment of your savings into assets like shares and property, etc.
That makes sense.
Indirect costs. Costs paid to external providers that affect the value of your investment. Advice fees. Cover professional advice provided for your super and investments. Switching fees. Cover switching your super fund to another. Buy or sell spread fees. Cover charges for transactions to and from your fund, including contributions and withdrawals. Insurance premiums. Cover the cost of the insurance your super fund provides. Exit fees. Fees for bailing out or closing a super fund. Activity-based fees. Fees charged.
Now, could you pull out of your super early? Because that's something that's obviously not ideal or promoted here in the U.S., but you have a IRA account, 401k, not Social Security, but 401ks and traditional IRAs and stuff, you can actually, in a lot of cases, you can kind of take out a loan against your own IRA account, which is kind of cool if you need it, like during hardships or something. And even straight up pull money out with a penalty. So you have a good amount in there, and it's worth it to you to get some chunk of cash out. And even if the penalty is 10 or 15%, it's like, okay, well, boom, you just lost 10 or 15%. But for some people, they need the money, they can get it out. And I think that's kind of cool that you can do that here. It's not ideal, obviously, but it's just the fact that the option's there is kind of nice.
Charged for a specific
I imagine there would be exit fees anywhere, so I'm not surprised to hear that, because obviously
like
those are here
your
too.
Super after a marriage, separation, etc. Here's a chart showing how much difference in super balance can small fees make. How much super do I need before I retire?
Yeah, well, I wonder
when
what
it comes
the
to retirement,
golden
there's no
number is.
one-size-fits-all approach.
True, yeah.
However,
that's
to
hard
give
to
you a
narrow
rough
down.
guide, the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia, ASFA's 2018 Retirement Standard Report suggests that singles would need $545,000 in super.
How the world has changed since 2018. Take me back. 2018 seems like so simple. It was like new era, but still simple compared to post 2020. Holy smokes.
And couples would need a combined $640,000 to fund a comfortable retirement.
Okay. So $500,000 plus some change for single. Couples, 640. God, not even 100 grand more for couples. I wouldn't think double, but I would think maybe 545 and couples like 750 or 8, but okay. Interesting.
What exactly is a comfortable retirement? According to ASFA, it would enable a healthy retiree to be involved in a broad range of leisure and recreational activities and purchase things like a reasonable car, good clothes, electronics, as well as domestic and occasional overseas travel. Does it cost money to change super funds? Super funds cannot charge you a fee for moving all or part of your money to a different fund.
Wow, that's
Legislation
big.
banning exit fees came into effect on July 1st, 2019.
I just was done thinking, did I hear that wrong earlier? I literally thought we were talking about that there was exit fees.
As part of the government's Protecting Your Super package.
Wow, very nice.
How to find lost super. According to the Australian Taxation Office, ATO,
and how nice that you can change your fund to a different type without a penalty. That's great.
There are more than 6.2 million lost and ATO-held accounts. As of June 30th, 2019, that adds up to $20.8 billion of super money potentially being lost because an individual is uncontactable, has let their account become inactive, or hasn't claimed their money.
Well, that's too bad. I'm imagining there's various reasons for that. It would suck if there was just some kind of goofy reasons, like people just didn't pay attention to this stuff and they lost out. That would suck. I'm sure it
According
happens,
to the ATO,
unfortunately.
your super fund will report you as a lost member in one of the following situations. They have not been able to contact you. They have not received any contributions or rollover amounts for you in the last 5 years. Your account was transferred from another fund as a lost member account and no new address has been found. Forgotten super is money. Your money. That is potentially being eaten into by administration fees and life insurance premiums. Multiple unclaimed super accounts could mean multiple annual fees and insurance premiums being subtracted. In some cases, fees could be deducted until idle accounts run out of money and are closed.
Wow, that would be terrible. Don't get a lost superannuation account. Keep track of it. You don't need to hear that from me. Okay, so that's a pretty good start. Pretty good info there. This sounds really cool. I can't believe that it literally is guaranteed to everybody. It seems like really solid, really like pretty trustworthy, I'd say. You can have it part-time, at full-time, part-time, and the fact that it stretches to anyone, any industry. You still have some options. I'm assuming like it's like the base contribution, even if you are like, you don't touch it, right? Like you're not putting in for your future, right? Well, like even the base contributions that you're just guaranteed seem pretty solid. Now, of course, if you're smart and a little bit disciplined, you take this and then you put some in there. And so it's the perfect mix, right? Then I think it's almost impossible for you not to be set unless, something's really wrong with the economy, or unless, you're really blowing money left and right. You should be set, man. That's a great feeling. Holy crap. It's going to be a great video for comments. you don't have to share your finances and stuff, but if you want to just share a little bit about, how you feel about it and if it's been good for you, or you think you're going to be set when you retire, or if you are recently retired, maybe you don't have any worries. Maybe you're good, right? Or maybe this isn't as good as it seems. Let me know. I would love to hear your side to this, because hearing actual comments from people in the know is usually what I value the most. It's pretty good. Okay, I want to show you a little bit of a comparison. Granted, it's an AI comparison, so take it with a grain of salt, but it should be pretty accurate. Let's hope, anyway. Okay, so here I'm going to show you a quick overview of like what we would have in the US, and we can kind of compare it. Because people are usually curious from like my side or the American side too, just to kind of compare. I'd say our plans are okay. They're not terrible, but they're not best in the world or anything either, right? I think your guarantee, and if you want to have a lazy approach or just an approach where you don't really want to touch this kind of stuff, I think you're worse off here, right? You got to like strap in and lock in and kind of get stuff done, and then you might be able to do really well here. But if you just kind of let it be on its own, Social Security, it's not going to work out too well. But let's get into it. United States, 401k and similar plans, main plan being a 401k. Who offers it? Employers, mostly in the private sector. So here's the thing. So it sounds like y'all have guaranteed superannuation as long as you're employed. We don't. You saw that, right? It's not guaranteed. Some employers do offer it. Some employers offer good 401k plans. Some employers don't, right? So that's the crazy part. You might not even have this. And then so you got to set it up yourself. And that takes a lot of discipline, right? And it's hard for people, especially in this economy. Employees contribute pre-tax or post-tax for Roth 401k money from their paycheck. So yeah, you'll see it on your paycheck breakdown. You'll see some taken out. Of course, I used to have a job at an assembly plant where they make cars, where they'd had a pretty good retirement plan, and you would see exactly how much they took out each week. Employees often match a portion of the contribution, 50% up to 6% of the salary. So that would be a really good job. I think, I can't remember, but I think one of my previous jobs, like I said, that had a decent plan, they might have done 6. Maybe it was like 4 or 5%. I think it was like 5%. And that was really good. Most jobs won't. Most jobs might do 1, 2, or 3% match. And that's if you're lucky, right? That's not even guaranteed either. Contributions are invested usually in mutual funds or target date funds. Money grows tax deferred until withdrawal. Can start withdrawing at 59 and a half years old. Required minimum distributions start at 73. Other common, you have the traditional IRA, and then of course Roth IRAs. Basically, Roth IRAs, you're going to be taxed more right now, and then you're not going to be taxed at all when you're older and start pulling it out. Traditional IRAs are going to be a little bit tax deductible now, but you're going to be taxed later on. Then you have 403B, nonprofit and public sector workers, so that won't be too many people. Social Security, that's the government retirement benefit based on lifetime earnings, but that's shaky, and our country, or our government's in an extreme amount of debt. There's tons of memes about Social Security, so fortunately for someone my age, it's not something I could really count on. That might be drained by the time I'm ready for it, so it's all up to me. Is it mandatory? No. The U.S. 401k is voluntary employer contribution, often but not guaranteed and not always. Tax advantage, tax deferred, or tax free. Government provided pension, yes, that would be Social Security, but again, shaky at best. Access age 59 and a half. Penalty for early withdrawals, 10% plus tax. It is 10%. Okay, I didn't know if it was 10% across the board or not, but it is. Plus, you have to pay tax. So that can really add up. You pull out like $50,000, 10% gone, okay, 45, and then it's going to be taxed. And it's going to be taxed at a pretty high percentage. I don't know it off the top of my head, but they're going to pull another 10 or 15 grand off that. So you can see how it starts to dwindle that number down really quick if you do pull out early. Then we have Australia with the super. Main plan superannuation fund. Okay, and we just kind of looked, right? Employers must contribute 11, right? And that's actually 11 and a half, and about to be up to 12. So this is pretty accurate, right? Individuals can also voluntarily contribute. Funds are invested and grown over time. Tax at concessional rate 15% within the super fund. Can access funds from age 60, so very close in age, within 6 months of our plan. provided you've retired, or 65 regardless of work status. Okay, gotcha. So penalty for early withdrawals, strict exceptions only. Maybe you can expand upon that. It sounds like early withdrawals are very hard and rare, but maybe a little more rare than they are here. I'm imagining there's got to be some sort of penalty, or maybe they just don't let you withdraw at all unless it's an extreme situation, which maybe you can shed some light on that. That's one difference I seem to see in these comparisons. And real quick, if you want to look at that, there is a side-by-side comparison, US on the left, Australia on the right. Mandatory, no. Yes, employers. So like, I feel like the Australia one's pretty solid, and it actually sounds really cool. I mean, 12% contribution, even if you don't touch it, that's insane. That's going to add up, right? So you keep working, dude, you're going to have this pension or the superannuation. You're going to have the super no matter what. That is a great feeling. Like, holy crap, man. I mean, you pay taxes anyway, right? Like, I always laugh at American arguments against stuff. It's always like, oh, government this and socialist this. Like, dude, we pay taxes. We pay a lot of taxes here in the U.S. I don't want to hear it. Like, we do. I just feel like it goes to almost nothing, right? Like, in my day-to-day experience, I can show you a bunch of stuff where it's like, why is this like this? This is crappy. What is this? Why don't they improve that? Why don't they build this? I don't know what they're doing with my taxes, right? I pay a lot of them, and it feels like I don't get a lot for it, so it's really frustrating. And, you know, my situation, right, for this job, I'm on my own when it comes to IRAs, right? I have to set that up myself. As someone who's self-employed, you know, obviously no one's going to set that up for me. So, you know, I'm on my own. It's kind of crazy, right? I still pay all these taxes. They don't really go to much, unfortunately. And, you know, this is just another thing that I've heard from another country where, I mean, look at this, right? You pay taxes in Australia too, but at least it's going to something. Like, look, I feel like most people are going to be pretty well off when they're older because of stuff like this. And then here's a summary. Yeah, the U.S. retirement's more DIY and market driven, right? Depends on your personal savings and wise investing. So you better be smart in the U.S., otherwise you might be screwed. Then I asked, if you were a neutral financial person from neither country, what do you think is better for the average person and why? ChatGPT said if they had their neutral financial advisor hat on, that they would lean toward Australia's superannuation system as a stronger foundation for the average person, right? Built-in savings discipline, less reliance on individual action, simplicity and portability, reasonable tax treatment inside the fund. So I think that's awesome, right? You could kind of read these bullet points specifically if you would like. Once again, something very interesting and fascinating about Australia after all these years. Like, it's a very, very fascinating country. A lot of really smart things, especially when it comes to finances, right? You know, they call it the lucky country, right? And I know, like, happiness index, stuff like that. Australia is very high. People are usually, you know, really doing really well there. And even financial things, right? Like, yeah, it's awkward to talk money for a lot of people, but usually Australians are doing pretty good on that. And that's something to be proud of. I mean, that's a good thing. You have my respect. Bottom line, you know, for someone who isn't a financial go-getter, just wants a retirement cornerstones laid brick by brick with minimal fuss, Australia Super tends to be more foolproof. It guarantees savings, reduces paperwork, and pairs neatly with government top-up. So there you go. I mean, that's for like bottom scenario. Like, you just don't want to touch that stuff. You're still going to have some. I think that's really cool. Very interesting comparison. I would love to hear your comments on this. You know, I think you can make it big. Again, with everything, like, remember, you can still make it really big in the U.S. It's just, it's hard, man. And like, this country is crazy. It's been crazy for a while. It's crazy now. And cost of living is insane. Most people can't even afford a house anymore. Like, there's a lot of problems here. Unfortunately, it just seems like, you know, some people are really making it big here. Some people are kicking butt and, you know, getting rich by the day. And it just seems like that number is smaller and smaller. Like, rich people are getting really rich here and everyone else is kind of falling behind. It's what it feels like, but it is what it is. I thought that was really interesting. Australia superannuation, very smart. You guys, I think you're doing good with that. Just my 2 cents. Hope you enjoyed it, found it educational. I know I did. And I appreciate you watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.